So the topic is conditional and iterative statements in Python. So to understand this, first we need to understand how many types of statements are in Python. Right? First is types of statements in Python. So statements are instructions or the instructions given to the computer to perform and making and be it making or by repeating action. Statement form the smallest executable unit within form statement form the smallest Python statements is empty statement, simple statement, or single statement. Number three is compound statement. So we start with empty statements.
So like pass.
Yeah, obviously that pass. Yeah. Be muted. I will ask you when at the end of the session. I will ask you. You can ask your doubts and everything. Right? So many people knows these concepts. So don't worry, it will be repeat for you people. And the people who don't know this concept, they concentrate on it, right? Don't say in the middle. So empty statement or empty statement. So here empty statement in Python, there is a keyword in Python called pass, right? If you just write pass, it is considered as an empty statement. If you don't want to do anything in the else part sometimes, then you use pass, right? So the pass is the empty statement. So the pass statement of Python is a do nothing statement. That is empty statement or null statement. Empty statement. So a pass statement is useful in those instances where the syntax of the language requires the presence of the statement, but where the logic of the program does not, right? We will see it in loops and their bodies also, right? When we start programming the Python in Python, then we will face many situations where logic is not demanding something, but syntax is demanding. So in that case, we use this pass. So any executable statement, a statement in Python is for example, you can say that, okay, for example, you can write here name, input, say name is equal to input, right? Enter enter your name, and you can write after that. After that, you can write here. So here, these two are examples of input. These two are the examples of simple statement, right? That input and then the print, right? So input function is used to take input from the keyboard, and that input will be stored in the variable name, and we are printing the contents of the name, whatever it is stored. So these two are simple statement, right? So now we do number three. So number three is compound state. So a compound statement has a header ending with a colon, ending with ending with a colon, and a body containing a sequence of statements of at the same level of indentation so this is a compound statement. So let me show you syntactically how it looks. So first you have compound statement header preceded by colon, right? And then you have indented multiple simple or compound simple. So this is how compound statement, right? So compound statement has a header line which begins with a keyword and ends with a colon, right? And a body consisting of one or more Python statement, each indented inside the header line, right? And all the statement in the body are the same level of the indentation, right? So there are 2 points given here, a header line So a header line always, let me write it down bro. There are two things, a header line which begins with a keyword, with a with a keyword and ends with a colon and ends with a colon of one or more Python statements are at the same level, are at the same level. So next topic which we are going to study is the statement flow control, right? Which is a very important topic. This topic is very much important, and here we have three things, right? In a program, statement may be executed sequentially, selectively, or iteratively. Every programming language provide construct to support sequence selection or iteration, right? So, so first we look at the sequence, right? First we look at so the sequence construct means the statement executed. Sequence construct means the statements are being represents the default flow of the statement. So in Python program, we can write down our statement one after another and they execute one after another, right? So sequence, so basically we can say that the sequence refers to a normal flow of control in a program and is the simplest one, right? We can say that sequence refers to the normal flow of control in a program is the simplest one and is the simplest. So that is the sequence. The next thing is selection. So selection is a very important terminology in programming. Selection, right? So the selection construct means the execution of statement depending upon a condition test. If a condition evaluates to true, a course of action is followed. Otherwise, another course of action or a set of statement is followed, right? This construct or the selection construct is also called decision construct because it helps in making decisions about which set of statement is to be. So next thing is let me draw it and let me show you how this thing is happening. So I think everyone is acquainted with flowchart symbols. I will teach you flowchart symbols also a bit later. So you just try to understand it. It's very easy to understand. So first is condition. So if this condition is true, it follows a separate course of action. That is statement and it continues like this. And if it is false, it follows this route, right? Statement one, right? And it is going like this. So after this point, it will join this point and keeps going, right? So this is one course of action. This is one course of action, and this is another course of action, right? So this is the select. This is how select construct works. So you can think many such real life examples of the selection decision. So next thing is iteration or looping. So the next concept is iteration or looping. This is important here. This line is very much important. This line is very much important, right? The iteration construct means repetition of set of statements depending upon a condition test. So till the time a condition is true or false, a set of statements are repeated. A set of statements as soon as the condition becomes false. Let me show you this diagram also. Okay, how this is represented diagrammatically. So here this is also very much similar. Okay, here we have a condition again, and if it is false, right, then your control will come out over at this position and continues after this, and it will continue after this, right? So this is false, right? Or this condition is sometimes called the exit condition. The So this word or terminology I will use when I will teach recursion also, right? In Python, how recursion works in Python. Okay, so this is called a exit condition. Fine. So next thing is there are many program logic development tools are also available. Generally what people do, they directly start writing code in Python whenever they get any problem, right? So that is not the right way to solve any problem. The right way to solve any problem is that first we read the problem, get the problem, try to understand the problem, analyze the problem, then we write down the steps, right? How to solve the problem, right? And after considering my step is correct, then we try to convert that step into Python language code, right? So we are not supposed to write down the program directly, right? First we need to design the algorithm. Designing of algorithm is very much important, right? Without designing of algorithm, if you write down the code, your code will break down after a month, after a 2 month, or after a year. It will definitely break because it doesn't have a plan, right? So without planning, if you do anything, it will break. So it's a very nice habit कि you create a plan first, right? And then you write down or then you write down your code. So that is a program logic development talks about. So there are many tools here. We use those tools. So program logic. One of the tools name is say for example, I need to divide two numbers, first number from the second number, and I need to store the quotient and the remainder, right? So I'm writing an algorithm for this. Okay. So let me write it down. So input. So step number one, that is input first number, right? F num. Then I'm going to input the second number. So input S num. Now what I have to do, I have to store the quotient, right? So Q is equal to F num. Q is equal to F num divided by S num. So I have stored the quotient. Now I want to store the remainder. So remainder is equal to F num modulus of S num. And here you indicate that K, here you indicate that K percentage. So we got the quotient and remainder, and now we print the quotient and remainder. Put a comma here because we are using Python. Put a comma here and put Q, right? And we have done this, we have completed our code, then we write here, we are done. All right. So this is how you write down the algorithm. Writing algorithm is very easy, and you write down the steps, right? It is like writing a recipe. It is like writing a recipe, right? So this is one tool, right? There is another tool is called flowchart, right? There is another tool called flowchart. Flowchart we use different symbols, right, to represent different things. Okay. Say for example, to process the data, we use a rectangle. We use rectangle to process the data. For input and output, we use parallelogram, right? Parallelogram is used, the symbol is used to represent input or this diamond shape. This diamond shape is used for decision, right? This oval shape is used for start or end. Start or end, right? This circle shape is the connector. Fine. And if you have a subroutine or a sub function, then you can use this symbol. This is called subroutine. Whenever you have a subroutine, then you can use this symbol. There is another symbol is that case, say if your data is coming from a document, so you can use this symbol which represents document. So there are other symbols according to your use, you can use it, right? So there are many tools are also available on the internet to draw a flowchart, right? So flowchart is also a very nice tool. right? So I'm drawing a flow chart. Say for I'm taking one problem and I'm drawing a flow chart of that. Okay, so I'm drawing this, so you will get idea. So here what we have to do, I have to take two numbers as an input. So first thing I need to do is I need to start, right? Then I need to take input num1, then I will take another input and I'll keep these two instructions inside a parallelogram. Then what I will do, I will try to divide the num1 with num2, right? So I'm writing here q is equal to num1 divided by a condition like this k is okay. So if this condition is true, if this condition is true, then what I will do, then I will print it over here, a message here. So I have to print this message in a, so this is a parallelogram and I have printed the message. Now if this condition is false, if this condition is right, so I have a less amount of space, so I'm moving a bit up, then I'm writing it here. You can do this also, not it's allowed, right? Then you are writing here, and then here after that I don't have to do anything, so I'm writing here stop. So this is the way you can design the flow chart, right? So whenever you get any problem to solve, you try to either write algorithm or try to draw a flow chart, and later on when you are convinced that okay, my problem I can, so this will be the solution of my problem, then you can write down the code, right? So this is a very small problem. You can write the code directly onto the computer. It will be looking like okay, wasting your time. But anything is that you need to start a habit, right? So when your habit is good, then your performance is good in future, right? So whenever you have to write down a complex problem, right, then you need this technique. So with this technique, you can draw the flowchart first, and then you convert the flowchart into code, right? And you can see where in your code where you have created a problem. So this is how we can handle. We write algorithm, we draw flowchart, right? Before writing a program, you have to draw this and you have to do this. Fine. So let's move to another part of Python, which is very important, right? The if statement in Python. So the if statement is a compound statement, right? The is the compound statement and its syntax, and then you will indent, right? And then you can write statement, okay? And then you can write it down. So this is the way we approach it. So this is called indentation. This space is called, right? This space is called indentation, right? This and the statement, right? The statement inside the statement statement inside are indented at same level. Are. So if the condition is true, it will follow this course of action, and if the condition is false, then it will follow another course of. So the next is the if else. So you can write if statement in Python. Say for example, say I'm writing here C is equal to, assuming that user will enter an alphabet here, right? Say I've entered here Q, right? Now I want to check whether C is containing an alphabet or not. So for that I can write here if C is greater than equal to, so this is for capital A. This is for capital A, capital letters, and we can write here C is less than equal to capital Z, right? And if you put a colon and then write it down, right? So you can execute this code, right? So you can see that it has taken the decision, right? Entered character is an alphabet. Okay. So we can take this example in our code. So let me talk about the if else statement also, right? Which is very much convenient to if it is not an alphabet, then it must be something, right? Okay. So that's, so let me write one code in Python, enter a character, and this character may be anything. It may be digit, it may be alphabet or anything, right? So I'm writing here, if C is greater than equal to, then I'm writing another here. I'm writing here else. You can execute this code. Okay, now I can execute this code and check how this code is behaving, right? So I'm entering here the information. Say for example, I've entered here 1. So entered is something else, right? Entered character is something else. If I execute this code once again and I'm entering the alphabet like D, right? So it's small d, so it is saying entered is something else, right? And if I execute it and if I give the capital A, right, you can see that it is showing that entered character is an uppercase alpha. Okay, so this is what if else. This is how if else works. Fine. Let me put it in our notes. I have many examples of if else you can think about in your head. Okay, so let me do another part of if else, right? So this is called if this is called if else, right? So we can write multiple if else also, right? We can write multiple if else. It will come into your head that key I have to write only if else, only one if else. No, you can write multiple if else, right? So an if else in comparison of two successive if statement has less number of conditions check. That is within if else the condition will be tested once, in contrast to comparison if the same code is implemented with two successive if. Okay, so you can write after if, you can write another if also. That is not a problem, right? So after one if else, you can write another if else. That is not going to be a problematic thing. You can do it because if you have two conditions to check, you can check it in the code, right? Say for example, I want to check it for lowercase letter also. I can do that, right? So I can do that. I can write here if, okay, that is also possible. If C is greater than equal to small a. So I talked something about pass, so which we can use it over here. We make this statement, right? This, and we write here pass. So we commented this statement and we have written pass, right? Then it will check it for this one, and we use here else. This is not the right way of writing code. Entered character is something. Oh, I have not closed. I have given a bracket here. My mistake. So Control S, and then I have to execute this. So I've entered here small a. Now you can see that entered character is in lowercase. Okay, and let me execute this once again. If I'm executing it and if I've entered here 1, so it will print entered character is something else. Okay, so let me go with another part of if else, that is called if elif. Okay, that is also very useful. So we take this example also because it contains a pass. Okay, so here you can see how pass is being used. Fine. Otherwise, this looks odd. So that's why I have used it. So next part of the thing is, okay, I'm going to use if else elif statement, right? So the syntax is pretty interesting for this one. So the general form of so there is something called if elif statement, and there is something called the if if elif if, and then you have else statement. So I'm writing it for the both. Then put the indentation, the statement. Then again if you want you can write again elif, right? If you want you can write again. So this is as much as you want, right? It depends upon your testing requirement. You can write again and again. So for if else elif, the thing is this, okay, you have written this stuff and then you have written here else. So this is how the syntaxes look for this. Okay, so let me write down a code. Let me write down a full-fledged code to explain you the both, right? So let me go to the code which I have written for you. And here, instead of all these, we are going to LF, right? We are going to use, instead of if, I'm going to write LF. Okay. So entered character is a lowercase. Again, I will write here one LF, ELIF, LF. And here I'm writing C is greater than equal to, right? 0, and C is less than equal to 9. C is less than equal to 9. Then you can print. So it will detect that. It can detect space also. Python detects space also like this. LF, LFC double equal to, if you write here space, right? So you can print here, print entered character. Entered character is a digit, right? Entered character is a, and if it is not detecting anything, it will print entered character is something else. Okay. So you can increase the test conditions as much as you want, right? And your program will become intelligent, and it will help you. Right. So I'm entering here hash, or say I'm entering here hash. So entered character is something else. Okay. Let me execute it once again. So it's asking for a character. So I'm entered here 2. So entered character is a digit. Okay. So let me execute it once again, and I'm entering here, say P. So entered character is in lowercase, right? So entered character is a alphabet and in lowercase. So that I have to write down the interactive statement in my code. So entered character is in lowercase alphabet. It will display that, right? I hope if elif, right, is clear for you people. So let me show you few examples. Say for example, if I need to find out the maximum or the minimum of three number, then how I can find it out. So that is how we can use the if for comparison, right? Say for example, I have to write a code to input three numbers and find out the maximum and the minimum value. Say for or so can you people write down the code for this or write a program? I'm writing the question on the. I have received one code from Sayok. None of the people are submitting code. Do it fast. It's very few lines of code is required to solve this problem. Yeah, Sujosh, if you want, you can send it again. Not a problem. We cannot use max and min function because I've said to use if else, else if by using that construct. So this will be the code for finding out the maximum and the. So Sini's code is very close to the correct answer, right? And very much precise, but she finds only the minimum part, not the maximum part. Okay, so this is the so this is the precise code which I was expecting from everyone to solve it. Yeah, I have seen your code is so I hope you understood this code, right? What I am trying to do here. What I'm trying to do here, okay, I created. So let me input few values here. Say for example, 205, 30, and 150, right? Then what I'm doing here, okay, I created another two boxes called max and min. So in max box, I have stored the value of N205, and in min box also I have stored the value 205, right? Now what I'm doing here, if max is less than N2, right? If the value of max is less than N2, which is not the case, right? Which is not the case. So it will jump to here and it will test if max is less than N3. So this is also false, right? Now we come to here. If min is greater than N2, yes, it is greater than N2. So update the value of min, right? So the value of min will become 30, right? So next, min is greater than N3. Min is greater than N3, which condition, this condition is false, right? Then we are all done, and then we can print the max. The max is 205 for this condition, and the value of min is 30, right? So output will be 205 and 30. right? So you can think about another situation like that k say n1, right? n1, n2, n3, n3. So here it is 30, here it is 205, make it 130 and make it 45. Okay. So the value of max is 130 and the value of min is also 130 at very starting, right? So now what will happen? Ki I'll start comparing. Max is less than N2. Condition is true. So max is updated to 205. Now again, 205 is greater than 45. So this condition is false. So max will keep at 205. Now the value of min, which is 130. So 130 is greater than N2. So this condition is false. So min will remain at 130. Now min is greater than N3. Yes, it is greater than N3. So assign. So min will be 45. So when you print max and min, so max will print 205 and the value of min is 45. That value will be printed. I hope the idea is clear to everyone. Please type yes so that I can execute the code and I can move ahead. So let me execute this code. So first number 205, second number 305, and the third number 105. So now you can see that the maximum is 305 and the minimum is 105. So it is working fine. Fine. So this is the very simple code. And Sayok, have you understood? You have also given the code which I think which I taught you in your previous classes, right? So you should use your brain before writing down a code. Ki, is this code and you read the question properly, right? The people who have done the previous classes, right? They should read the question properly and write down the answer properly. Fine, right? And don't and try to solve the question, right? Whatever I am saying, just try to follow it. Okay, don't try to be extravagant with these things, right? So you practice it with your books, with your textbooks which you have, right? And the people who don't have textbook, they can ask me and I will give them a textbook. So the next thing is which we are going to study. Let me give you a few problems on these if else. Then in the next class we will be shifting to the iterative statements, right? So let me give you a few more problems. Have you people revised the math module at home? Because Suktika is saying something called max and min function. So we can write down this code using max and min function also, right? In Python, there is a function called used to work. Yeah, now it is giving max. Maybe some issue was there in the shell. Now it will work. So you can use min and max functions also to represent to find out the minimum and the maximum value from the list also. It can you can use the list also. L is equal to, you can have many numbers like 1, 5, 7, 3, 2, right? And then you can find the max from L. So you can see that it is working fantastically now. You can find the min also, min from L. So there's one. Yeah, you can use this. Let me give you one small problem so that you can write it down using write a program in Python to input write a program to input a range, not the range, and generate a random number. Write a program in Python to. So you can create means ki you can give 3 chances to the user also, right? Here, let me modify the question once again. So enter the number. If your guess is right, print the congratulations. If not right, then okay, and if it is if your guess is not right, then this is your final chance, and input the number and input the number again. Put the number again, right? If your guess is not right, then print the better luck next time. And if it is right, right? If the guess is right, then print congratulations, right? Understood. So this is what you have to do. Yeah, don't include, don't include. So you you people write down this thing and update me. And if you people don't have any textbook, then you can tell me. Then I will give you one Python Go book so that you can study from that book. Okay, fine. So I'm just closing the session, and if you have any doubt, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. Right.